Hello, this is Ian Henry, Auto Analysis, and welcome to the June 2015 edition of the SMMT's European Production Outlook for Cars and Light Commercial Vehicles. First, we'll have a quick look at what happened in Europe last year. Well, the recovery continued across Europe throughout 2014, with much pent-up demand returning. This was boosted by several new model launches. Last year saw 12 months of year-on-year rises in EU registrations, and 2014 was actually the first year since 2007 to show an annual rise. And indeed, this year, from January through April, we've also seen strong rises across Europe, with this pattern continuing. Last year, European production, excluding Russia, was just under 18.3 million, compared to just under 17.5 million in 2013. And this growth was underpinned by strong performances in the Czech Republic, Germany, Hungary, Spain, Slovenia and Turkey. By contrast, production last year in the UK, France and Italy was barely changed. We saw PSA cut a lot of jobs in France, PSA and Renault shifting small car production eastwards, Ford cutting jobs in Romania, but also opening a new plant in Turkey. It also switched production from Belgium to Spain. Looking at the UK in 2014, we saw a very positive sales story, with strong retail demand and consumer confidence remaining high, despite general economic uncertainty. The UK was actually up over 9% to nearly 2.5 million, a 10-year high, and this growth story has continued through 2015. Last year, 2014, saw production of just under 1.6 million cars and LCVs, almost unchanged on 2013. Jaguar Land Rover was up 30,000 to nearly 464,000. GM and Mini were up slightly, but the Japanese vehicle manufacturers fell. Model cycle effects were responsible for the downturn at Nissan and a generally slower than expected ramp-up at Mini. But there was a lot of positive news from JLR, with good announcements regarding the Jaguar XE and Land Rover Discovery Sport production. There's been more good news in 2015 with the F-Pace and Evoque convertible production announcements. And we expect further good news announcements from JLR in particular later this year. New models from JLR at Vauxhall and Nissan, plus the full year production of the new Mini and Qashqai, should push UK output towards 1.7 million in 2015. We also saw a lot of positive news regarding the supply chain last year, with multiple announcements of new contracts and investments, and this has continued in this year so far. Let's look now at the picture for Europe as a whole. Including Russia, production in Europe should reach around 21 million in 2016 and 23 million by the end of the decade. But without Russia, European production will be lower, but only at about 21.5 million by the end of the decade. Germany will remain the powerhouse of European production, with production close to and over 6 million units a year through to 2020. This is underpinned by Ford Germany retaining Fiesta production, which had been threatened to go to Germany, and strong production at the major premium brands in the country. UK car production now exceeds that of France, although in fairness France produces many more vans than the UK does. This pattern will continue. There's been recent significant investment in Spain at most of the vehicle companies there, and this means Spain will remain the second-ranked European production country in the medium term. In fact, Ford Spain is now one of Ford's biggest plants worldwide, and French vehicle manufacturers' production is also growing strongly in Spain, much to the annoyance of the French government. In total, we see Spanish production exceeding 2.6 million units a year consistently from later this year, and will in fact get to 2.8 million in some years. We also expect to see further production growth in Turkey, Hungary, the Czech Republic, Slovakia and the UK, and we're still confident that the UK should reach 2 million units a year by the end of the decade. This chart shows European car and LCV production by vehicle manufacturer group through to 2020. From this we exclude Russia. It also shows the total production in Europe rising from the low point in 2012 of 17.2 million approximately to over 21 million by the end of the decade. The brown block towards the top of the bar chart shows the dominance of the Volkswagen Group. The pink bar in the middle shows the strong and rising importance of Renault, Nissan and Dacia together. And just above that we can see the bright blue turquoise colour for Tata, Jaguar Land Rover, and its increasing importance in production terms. This chart shows the relative importance of the major countries in Europe, excluding Russia. The primacy of German production at or around the 6 million level is clear from the line at the top of the chart. And below that we can see Spain, the brown line, just somewhat ahead of France and the UK. And below that Turkey and Italy, rising strongly and maintaining production at over 1 million in most cases. It's also important to note, as we have done in the past, the continued move of a lot of vehicle production eastwards. Renault has switched most of its Clio production to Turkey, PSA most of its T08 production to Slovakia, with the C3 to follow. Suzuki, Mercedes and Audi are also increasing production in Hungary. Fiat will make the new Punto, or rather its replacement, in Poland under the 500 brand name. Toyota has added a new SUV crossover to Turkey starting next year. Ford has opened a new small van plant in Turkey, and Hyundai is also producing vans in Turkey. The rise of production in Turkey to 1.5 1.4 million and more reflects expansion at Tofaş and the concentration of Ford's van production in the country. Czech production will remain at about 1.4 million or over due to the strength of Skoda, which will also produce a number of models for Seat. Slovakia will exceed 1 million due to rises in production at PSA and Volkswagen, but we think Romanian production has peaked, with the Ford B-Max having been something of a failure and most Dacia Sandero production switching to Morocco. Although we are generally optimistic about the medium-term outlook for vehicle production in Europe, the general global and indeed regional economic and political uncertainty means that some things could turn out to be somewhat different. This chart shows a number of scenarios that we've constructed, the details of which are in our full report, which you can download from the SMT's website. And this shows what might happen if production falls this year and that there are various further falls in 2016 and beyond. The worst case scenario, scenario 6 at the bottom, shows European production not even recovering to 18 million until 2020. And if that was the case, which is possible of course, then it could place severe strains on the industry's current structure, and the idea of further plant closures across Europe would be raised. We turn now to the question of whether the UK will hit 2 million units a year. We think the potential for this remains quite clear, but cutbacks at Honda and the allocation of a third model to Toyota Turkey rather than the UK are cause for concern. Certainly the UK needs Nissan to maintain recent production levels and, very importantly, Mini to achieve full utilisation at Oxford, the Astra to be a success, and JLR to continue growing and increasing UK production ahead of expansion overseas. If this happens, and without worldwide economic collapse, then the 2 million target is both achievable and realistic. And of course it also represents substantial opportunities for suppliers. It's also worth remembering that the UK also produces over 2.5 million engines a year, and in fact will soon make more than 3 million once the JLR engine plant is on stream. This is a substantial business and contributor to the economy, and full details of UK engine production have also been added to the latest report, which you can download from the SMT's website. What does all this mean for UK-based suppliers? Well, certainly rising UK car and LCV production should mean significant potential for these suppliers. A recent BIS report has highlighted a further 4 billion worth of annual sourcing opportunities. The Discovery Sport announcement in 2014 was accompanied by the award of over 3.5 billion worth of business to 55 UK suppliers, and the XE, new model from Jaguar, is over 50% UK sourced, the first time this has been achieved for many, many years. Similar awards are expected to be announced during 2015 for the Jaguar F-Pace and other models which will come on stream this year. The expansion of engine production by JLR, Ford and BMW offer major opportunities for potential suppliers as well. Significant investment in this area has been taking place by the major tier ones, and with companies such as BorgWarner, Calsonic and the others shown on the screen, we can see the opportunities are being recognised by the tier ones. The government's automotive investment organisations help in this regard, securing over 80 automotive projects in this first year operation, creating or securing more than 5,000 jobs, with many more to follow. Thank you for listening. I hope you found this summary of the European production outlook of interest. The full report is available from the SMT's website, details of which are now shown on the screen. This is Ian Henry of Auto Analysis. Until next time, goodbye.